kick this call off. So thank you guys so much for jumping on tonight's call. We have a very, very special guest, Rebecca Fraser-Jones, who is joining us all the way from New Zealand. And I'm really, really excited for you guys to get a chance to hear her incredible story, hear about her success and what she did to really focus on her goals and to achieve those goals. Rebecca is a two-star crystal executive, two-star golden circle crystal executive, and two-star crystal executive. How do you say that again? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. A two-star golden circle, two-star crystal executive. That's how you say it, which technically means for you guys that are, just starting out with your businesses, it means that Rebecca is able to get up to 20 cycles, and that's clear cycles in one consecutive week. On top of that, she is a crystal executive herself. And then she's also gone to create 2 crystal executives below her in her team. And then she's won so many awards that it would take me probably an hour to get through the accolades. But I wanted her to jump on tonight and share with you. She is one of the most kind-hearted and pure and loving people that I've ever known. I've watched her build her business over the last 2 years with such passion and such creativity and just so much love. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear her story tonight. So welcome to the call, Rebecca.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much, Trina. That's such a beautiful intro. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here for you guys tonight. Not sure of the time there, but yeah, I'm coming to you from New Zealand. It's a beautiful day here. We're heading into our summer. So, when Trina asked if I could jump on and just share a bit about my journey in Isagenix, I was all 100% yes, because yeah, we're just so lucky. We've got this big global team, and Trina and I think we've been brought into Isagenix in a similar way, in terms of our upline being a lady called Gabby Dean, who here in New Zealand was the first ISA millionaire. And so my connection, or a large reason for me coming into Isagenix, finding Isagenix, is connected to Gabby. So yeah, I'm just really happy to be here, and I guess I'll just kick it off by filling you in on how I got started. It was 7 years ago almost now that I joined purely for the products, because at that time I was 35. I was a little bit overweight, or just not happy in the body I was in, and I was actually just at a real crossroads in my life. I'd been a florist. That's my career. So I did that for a good 20 years. So my background is heavily in floristry, the flower industry, creativity. And, I had no idea, like a lot of us that enter into this network marketing journey, I had no intention of really pursuing this as a business. It just kind of eventuated. But once I fell in love with the products, upon doing my first 30 days, like I was one of those people that just, it worked for me. It worked really well. And I followed that guide to the letter and had an amazing 30-day transformation, which was so timely for me in my life where I was at that point, because in a nutshell, like I'd had a traditional business, which I'd run for 6 years, and it kind of came to a great big halt when we had our big financial crash. And so one thing kind of led to another, and I ended up closing the doors on that business, which was like a huge, really, really hard, challenging, testing time. My dream was sort of in tatters, and, I was at a real crossroads as to what next. And I didn't really have any idea of what I was going to do to, earn an income, or at that point, I just decided to kind of take 6 months off to just regroup, de-stress, get my life back together. And it was so good. I just think Isagenix really found me at a perfect time, because I needed the health. I needed to really just nourish myself in a way that I hadn't done for a long time, because along with running a traditional business, the rigors of that, the daily stress, taken a massive toll on my body and my psyche, basically. So yeah, it was the perfect timing to be introduced to the products by my sister, younger sister Amanda, who I built the business with back here in New Zealand every day we work really closely alongside each other, and we've been fortunate to create a really amazing, thriving team back here. But let me tell you, it started from very humble beginnings. So after I sort of took that time off and, fell in love with the products, I guess things started happening. I went to my first celebration in 2015 over in Brisbane. That's where our Australia and New Zealand have their huge event, a celebration. And so I went along to that just completely green. Gabrielle, who I'm not sure if any of you on this call have come across her on.
Yeah, Gabby jumps on quite frequently.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, well, she is connected to our family. Like, we go way back. We've got a lot of like memories together because she grew up like literally 5 miles down the road from our family farm, which is not far from where I live. And so we were brought up dairy farmers, much like Gabby. And so she had a huge part to play in, my entry into Isogenics. And then, after going to this event, I went over there with a really open mind because I was actually also looking for a new opportunity and something to pursue and really sink my teeth into. So it was that event that was really my turning point. When I really look back now, it just feels like so long ago, and it is. But I sat there in the front row seats at that celebration. There were about 5,000 or 6,000 people that year. And I was just spent the 3 days there. At that point, I hadn't really left New Zealand much at all. I'd been to the States a couple of times because I've got family in San Francisco. But other than that, I hadn't been a big travel goer, so that in itself was quite cool. To fly over there and be at this huge event with all these people, I didn't know what I'd walked into. But I came home and like the very next day, I'd enrolled my first person, and then later that week my second person into my business, and hit consultant quite fast because I was really truly, like, you probably hear it a lot, but ignorance on fire. I had no clue what I was really doing. I remember flying back to New Zealand and I had a wedding to do, so I had to fly over to this beautiful, it's like a resort island off the coast of New Zealand, and do that for a week for a girlfriend of mine. And all I could think about was, get this over with. I just want to get home so I can just start running with this opportunity. It was that kind of lit upness, I guess. I was like, this is cool. It took a lot to really wrap my head around what was possible with it. But I just knew, being quite a hands-on person, that I wanted to just start running and start reaching out to people. So it was fairly haphazard at the start. And back then, here in New Zealand, there weren't events. There was no real corporate presence or Zooms. We literally, like Gabrielle and Amanda and a couple of other business builders that were just building from remote parts of New Zealand, we kind of linked up and just started to travel around doing events. Like, if there's one thing I can attribute my success, any success that I've had in this, has truly been jumping in the car, traveling like a maniac, sometimes frightening hours through the night, which a lot of, even Kiwis, though a lot of New Zealanders live quite remote in rural areas, a lot of people think that's nuts. But really, it's like anything, when you're in perpetual motion and you're really hungry for this, you want to take yourself out there to meet people face to face, because I'm sure it's prevalent in a lot of markets, but especially here in New Zealand, Kiwis are typically shy. Like, they're super friendly and really vibrant, but they can be a little bit reluctant towards new things, or just not really on board with change or something new. So in order to build the trust of people, that is what we did. We just hit the ground running, traveled around. We still do that till this very day. And there's been a lot of ways that I've been able to build my business, but that hands down has been, a huge way in which I've been able to build those real solid relationships with my team.
Awesome.
And I mean, there's so much in between. But yeah, there's many ways that I build my business, and I've been lucky to build it up to 2 stars, Trina mentioned. And, you know, I by no means have I arrived. I'm still learning, failing forward. But I think my biggest strength is consistency. Like, I just show up every day, I do the do, and I apply myself, you know, much like I did in my other traditional career. And I'm glad a lot of what I learned there, I opened that business as a 26-year-old, super green, not really knowing what I was doing, but that seems to work for me. Yeah. Like being in, you know, just having to do it. And so events, and also like I've built quite massively through social media. And I guess I love social media. I think it's a really cool platform because that really appeals to my creative instincts.
Absolutely. And do you want to like kind of touch a little bit, like that's so cool that your story, you know, you started off doing something that you wanted to do and loved to do, but you found really soon, like soon after that, it just wasn't what you thought it was going to be, like running a business and having that pressure and then not knowing what the economy is going to look like. How would you say from that place of being in a job sort of setting to where you're at right now with a residual income, with making your own hours, with building it through social media, what would you say is like the difference for you?
Definitely the time freedom. I think that is sort of an underrated benefit, I guess, of building a network marketing business, because in contrast to when I had the shop, it was 7 days a week, stuck in the same four walls. And I know that might sound quite, I mean, I'm sure that's how half the planet, you know, live their life, just cooped up. And it's so not who I am. I'm such an outdoors person. So that in itself, which I didn't know back then as a naive 20-something, just wasn't it was completely out of alignment with who I actually am as a person. But you live and learn. And at that point back then, going way back, that is what I thought I wanted to do, because, you know, all through high school, you're taught to, you know, get a good job. And I had that skill. So I wanted nothing more than to open my own business. But boy, I had no idea what I was in for. It was just so demanding, grueling hours. And as like we became more successful, like we had an incredible, thriving business, I think I had up to 6 staff at one point. So it was all go.
Yeah.
But the freedom, like missing out on so many social occasions with friends. I remember, like, for example, Mother's Day, I can't remember celebrating my own mum for years, because you were always just in the shop working all night, you know, to fulfill orders and stuff like that. Yeah. I loved what I was doing, but looking back now, that has to be the very, you know, obvious kind of contrast, is that this level of freedom is quite scary. I was just talking to my sister earlier today about it, because you're just waking up each day and, you know, you can choose how hard you want to work, how many hours you want to put in. So I love that about network marketing, that it truly honors people that want to work hard. Yeah. You design your own hours, and that's one huge draw card for me.
Absolutely. And like, do you want to share a little bit about some of the accolades, like the trips that you've won and the opportunities that Isagenix has really opened up for you, just really briefly, and then we'll jump into some questions I'm sure people want to ask you.
Yeah, so I mean, they really, like, the trips are incredible. They're everything you think they look like from afar. And I just want you girls to know, like, whatever level you are at in your business, I was that girl. Like, it took me years to you know, really start cycling. I was watching all of the top leaders, like, oh my God, is that ever going to be me? Like, my build was slow and gradual. It didn't happen fast. But I've always known, like, that's kind of a thing that I guess, you know, that is one of my attributes. Like, I know to just stick it out, just hang in there at all costs, don't give up, don't quit. So I was watching a lot of people have these seemingly meteoric, you know, rises into 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not even 1 star yet. So just whatever you do, don't quit. That's the only way to fail. You would have heard that before. But so the trips, when I finally went on my first trip, was an ISA Derby to Las Vegas. So that was for a little Kiwi in a country of like 4 million people at the time. That was just off the charts. Incredible. I'm still recovering from that trip. It was just nuts. And the whole, like, you know, atmosphere, rubbing shoulders with the millionaires and stuff. I mean, it's overwhelming, but the real secret source of why you want to get on those trips is the training. That it's like the next level, incredible leadership mindset training that they, you know, specifically put on and orchestrate just purely for the people that have, you know, gone to that extra effort and won these trips. So yes, the, you know, the flights and all of the things that you're spoiled with and the free goodies, that's so neat, don't get me wrong, but all of the trainings you come back with, you just feel like you're up leveled along the way. So
it's like an investment in your personal development as well, which is actually like almost priceless, because it's going to fuel you for the years to come, right? And like, Rebecca, you've been top in your country. Like, you guys, just to give you a little perspective, you are talking to one of the top money earners in New Zealand. And you know, from the time, like, you started how many years ago, Rebecca, did you start?
It was 2014, so yeah,
almost 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's almost 7 years, and I've watched a lot of changes in Isagenix. But my story is kind of unique. Like, I actually found the products 10 years ago, but it's not a story I really tell because it's sort of not relevant to, you know, the new market. But it's kind of a long story. But I tried the system for the first time about 10 years ago. But back then it was so completely different. It was just very Spartan, just like a 9-day cleanse. And I loved it back then too. So it kind of found me for a second time 7 years ago, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Actually, I have a similar story. My sister introduced this to me in 2014, and we had just bought canisters, like drug deals, off our neighbor, like cash money, like, here's a chocolate shake. And then we're like, yeah. And then we go back to our house and like, okay, let's eat it, just the chocolate shake 2 times, and then eat our dinner. And then we would go out and party in the evening. And I ended up losing 15 pounds in 2 weeks. And it was crazy, because if I would have started my business then, if somebody had actually told me, like, I didn't find out about the business until 2018 in October was when somebody finally shared with me about the business. And I was like, where has this been all my life? Like, I just didn't know what was possible. So I totally get it. Like, can you imagine if I would have started my business in 2014? Like, hello, would have been nuts. But I totally understand.
That's amazing, Trina. I didn't know that. And see, I think Trina and I were together last year, was it, in Nashville?
Yeah, Nashville, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that the community, it's just awesome. There's so many layers to Isagenix. But yeah, I've loved every minute of it. I mean, I just cannot even think what I'd rather be doing than being aligned with this company and making a real change, you know, in the world. And it's very new still here in New Zealand. So many people haven't come across it yet. So it just, every day you wake up like, right, who can I tell today? You know, who can I find? Money and health, huge problems over here. So there's no shortage of people needing this in their life. So
absolutely. So I want to ask you a specific question, because we're having a global pandemic right now, and so many people aren't allowed to have events, and they're not allowed to travel, and they're not even allowed to be in the same car at some points. And, you know, some people can't even be with their families over Christmas because it's gatherings and certain numbers and everything like that. So as somebody who's been in the business for 7 years, and you've built up an incredible income with this business, and you've hit all these accolades and everything, what would you say has been your approach over the last year with the whole pandemic? I know New Zealand is a little bit different requirements than we have here in Canada, but maybe to generalize, like maybe how you've approached it on social media, or how you've, you know, has it given you more fire? Has it made you pull back more? Like, where would you say you're at with all of that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Trina. And I, like, when we had our first lockdown here in New Zealand, which started in March, so the whole country went into lockdown. It was like such a spooky, eerie time. And I just kind of sat there, and really, I'm just so grateful for all of the personal development that I've been lucky to be exposed to over the years, because
absolutely, hey,
I've never, never really been exposed to that like you are in Isogenics, and you become stronger than you think, and you learn that your default setting just becomes, you see a problem as an opportunity. And so for me, I just thought, right, I can either, play into this whole, global, downturn and panic and fear and all of that stuff. But my business actually tripled in that time. It really did, because, well, everybody was locked up and I just went for it. I worked harder than I ever have in the 7 years, and had so many new people join my team. Everyone was getting phenomenal results. So, but it was a conscious choice, because even I was feeling a bit, emotionally drained, but I was like, right, my responsibility is to just charge on and try and be a light for the team. And it has its moments, like we all do. It's a real sort of peaks and valleys, the whole business. It just never stops going like that. Yeah. I think you just get better at weathering the storms. And yeah, all of that training just kicked in. And I just, because I've got such full belief in the company and the products and everything, I knew, I've just got to make, a positive out of a negative. So although in New Zealand, we haven't been as restricted, like we're still able to roam around freely. There's not many restrictions right now. So we're so lucky, but people are still a little bit reluctant. So we're still doing a lot on Zoom, which is brilliant, because, we can still connect the team no matter where they are.
Yeah.
I've been running like weekly events here at my own house, and they've been working well. But yeah, it's just, I think it really comes down to mindset, because that is, as some of you would have learned at events, especially like David Wood events, and he often articulates that in a downturn, network marketing typically thrives, because so many more people are out there looking for that plan B, that way to earn an extra income online. And they're just more open-minded, like to having, being conscious of having to pivot and change something in their lives. So it's been an interesting year. I've learned so much, but I think everything comes from us, so I just try to stay in the positive and read good books and just keep developing. And
oh yeah, that's a great one. So recently we have just been talking about on our team about what kind of books are really good ones to get a hold of. And I've got some here that were blessed to me for an early Christmas present by Sarah Daw. So thank you so much. But these are some of the books that are mentioned by our leaders, which is The Art of War by, I'm going to butcher the name, but it's Sun Tzu. So this is one of the ones that Emily Barbara talks about, that is, and also Susan Sly. And then Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is one of the ones that we're actually going to start for our book, kind of like our book club, I guess you could say. But we're kind of trying to keep each other accountable, which doesn't mean you have to sit and read like 3 hours of this a day, but just even 10 minutes a day will, little steps forward. This will be accomplished by the end of the month, right? And then there was another one called The Wealthy Barber Returns. I've not actually heard of this book, but I'm sure it's going to be great. And then there's another one called Common Sense Guide for Successful Financial Planning as well. But I would love to hear your suggestion for like one of the books that you read that was really helpful in, or something that you're like, oh, if you're going to read a book like about success or personal development, what would you suggest?
Oh, there's so many. I'm currently reading, I've read it already, Kathy Coover's book, Resilience.
Oh, yeah.
Actually reading that last night, and I just think it's sometimes as though you've got to slow down to speed up in this business. And I'm guilty of just like waking up and wanting to do all of this action instead of slowing down a bit and just investing in me. And I know when I read and plug in, just different thoughts and perspectives come in, and then you've got this fresh approach. Because, it's like anything in life. What worked once before, it can stop working for you. So you just have to change things up. But I love the 4 Agreements. I mean, you probably have heard of that one. It's a good one it's like a touchstone that you can return to. And also there's one, it's probably a lesser known one, but The Road Less Traveled has been a huge, I've read that many times. It's M. Scott Peck, and it's just like really cool philosophies about just being a decent human being, you know, and I think a lot of that is in its cohesion with building this business. It's really being a successful network marketer is just so much about being a decent human. You know, it isn't too complicated, but I think those few have been big standouts. Like there's a lot, but yeah, The Road Less Traveled, I'm not sure if you've heard about it. It's actually a trilogy, but I think it's a really good book if you just want to, just really learn some good life skills, and, you know, the way that he just talks about like humanity and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's been one of my ones that I've read a lot over the years.
That's amazing. Yeah, I always like asking people. I think that books are one of those things that can completely change and alter the direction of your life. It can, I mean, I have books up on my shelf that I go and find again just so I can gift it to somebody who's going through something in their life where maybe they need a key, and that gave me the key. So I'd love to ask successful leaders about, you know, what they're reading and what their daily actions are, which brings me to my other question for you. And then we're going to open it up. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask Rebecca, we'll open it up for a couple quick questions at the end. But one thing I was going to ask you is, what would you say a typical day looks like for you, Rebecca?
Yeah, so I wake up pretty early. I've always been someone that doesn't need a lot of sleep, which I don't know if that's a good thing, but...
Well, would it attribute to the fact that you were a dairy farmer for like so many years?
Always like, you need your beauty sleep. But I wake up pretty early, I guess around 5:30, and then I just, it's lots of quiet time really, and just gratitudes. I wouldn't say I'm too ritualistic, but I just am in my own head, just being thankful just for being here, having fresh air, you know, working limbs, an amazing business. Like gratitude's a huge part of it. But I've really had to practice that. I think I've always been a naturally grateful person, but boy, you need that skill in this business, because I have, you know, many times where I've wanted to quit, wall kicking moments, just like anyone on this journey. And you'll get those, they come unexpectedly. So gratitude, you know, and then I kind of make my way to the kitchen and just drown myself in isogenics products, which I absolutely love. Like you'd think it just becomes, you know, you get complacent, but no, like at the moment I'm just loving the collagen elixir. Like I'm not sure if you have that there yet.
We're getting that January 8th. 2021. We are so excited because we have been watching all of your stories, like Gabby's stories and her success on social media, and yours and your sisters, and drinking these shots. And I'm just like, oh, I so cannot wait to get my hands on them and grow my hair and my nails and my skin, and just, you know, what would you say, like, this is the most thing that you've noticed from taking those shots?
Well, I actually have over the years, because I absolutely love nothing more than to go out fishing with my dad. So I've done a lot of that over the years. So I've got quite badly sun damaged skin, lots of like blemishes. If I'd only known back then what I know now about the New Zealand sun. But I have noticed a visual change to the brightness and clarity of my skin. Nails, like I've always had since I started taking the system, really good strong nails, but even more so now. Stronger hair, like my hair grows so fast, it's ridiculous. But it is, I guess I, maybe unlike a lot of the team, am really loving, like, just knowing that it's, you know, really helping with joints and mobility and your ligaments and just the building blocks to keep you healthy going into old age. Like I just think a lot of us don't plan for that, you know, until it's too late. So it's a gorgeous product, like world-class luxe. It just feels so nice to have. And there's nothing better in the morning you wake up and I just grab it out of the fridge door and it's chilled and it's, I'm so excited for you to get that.
That's so cool. Like even today, this is one thing that I can totally relate to about the products, and being doing isogenics for 2 years and thinking like, I'm just going to I'm going to get over the shakes and just not want to have them anymore. And it's so not true. Like even today, even if you miss a shake or something like that, you're thinking to the next time, like, hey, when am I not going to be full so I can get the next shake in? You know what I mean? And like, even today, the e-shots for me are pretty much like your collagen shots right now, is that if I need to get stuff done or I need to focus, I buy and invest e-shots specifically into my business.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
it's like, you want to get stuff done, you want to operate, you want to have focus, you want to be motivated, invest in e-shots, because hands down, you can go from like, I don't want to do anything, to having an e-shot and your whole house is clean and you're like, okay, let's get action, let's do this. So I totally can relate about the products and just putting them in your body and just doing it. And it just pays off, just like the doing the do of the business, right?
It is. They're just the perfect complement to doing this kind of work, because, you know, they're so convenient, so accessible. They're just there when you need them, when you're sprinting. You know, you have periods in your business where you're, you know, you're really in heavy action. And my
Is that
sister,
Rebecca or Amanda?
yes,
Oh,
it's
hi, Amanda.
hey,
Hey. How are
yeah.
you?
Hello.
Oh, you guys, you have to meet Amanda. So this is Rebecca's sister, and this is Amanda Fraser-Jones, who was enrolled by Gabby, and Gabby enrolled you, and then you enrolled your mom, and then your mom enrolled Rebecca. So do you want to share just really briefly about how this has helped you in your family, just like your family alone? Because that is such a cool story.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? We didn't know. I mean, we didn't really know what we were doing at the time. So, I mean, it wasn't like a strategic thing or anything like that, but it just shows what's possible with this opportunity. It's really, even for the people that don't want to build it as a business, like Mum, she's never had the intention to build it as a business, like big, but she enrolled maybe 5 people in 7 years and just stayed consultant and stayed active. And she earns between $2,000 to $4,000 every week from Isagenix. And she, you know, she doesn't build the business as such, but it just shows what is possible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes us really just share this every day, whether we've got massive, like, I don't know, business driven intentions that day, or just simply down at the like corner store, you know, sharing the e-shots with people.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, there's so many levels to how you can build this business, but, you know, if you do want to build a second income, it's just the best way.
I love your guys' story. What we saying, Rebecca? Sorry, my mic keeps turning off the screen for you.
So, like, to give that a little bit of perspective, like, we've grown up, mum and dad dairy farmers, which is very common here in New Zealand. It's such a rural, you know, agriculture is like our backbone of our economy. But they've never had a lot of money to go left or right. You know, that's quite typical New Zealand. It's quite low wages. So a lot of people go off to Australia to work in the mines and, you know, chase the bigger dollars, a lot like Gabby did in her accountancy career. But what it's meant is, like, we're able to purchase a family, like a beach house on the most incredible coastline of New Zealand. It's like, you know, world famous, the Coromandel, and there's just no way they would have been able to financially do that in this lifetime, with the tension of like farming and the unpredictability of just owning a dairy farm and the global economic climate right now. So it is crazy. Like, we really don't share it enough, but we've all grown up on that coastline, and they've, you know, every summer they've just been renting the holiday homes with what little money there's left at the end of the year. So now to just have that to freely come and go, I mean, we just think it's it's magic. We can just take off up there. It's a beautiful big, like, 4-bedroom home, stuff like that. It is insane. I
think that's like so amazing that you guys brought your mom into this so early on, and, you know, the gift of just being able to introduce her to that early on, and what that's paying forward now. Like, I just think that's so inspiring to me. Is contribution is one of my highest values, and to you guys that are watching this call or somebody watching this recording, think about your highest values and what that is. Like if contribution is your thing, or you want to change the outcome of your family's life, even just introducing them early on and saying, hey, just be a product user with 100 BV. Like Danielle, when I first introduced her, she got it. Like she was like, this is the best investment you can ever make in your entire life, hands down. There's like, this is going to pay more than any investment in having more money in the bank later, or having properties or whatever. You got it right away. But think about what that could do for your family. Think like I was fortunate enough to have my mom actually call and yell at me thinking I was in some kind of an illegal business because I was earning an income and I had no passport or no visa to Australia. And she's like, how are you earning money in this country when you don't have a visa? And that argument led to me sharing my story with her and her joining the business. And now we fund an orphanage in Africa out of our income that we have from Isogenics. And she had a team of like 15 people. She's kind of put it aside right now because she's taking care of my grand, but it's still, the position is there. And so, I think that that's so amazing that you guys were able to do that. And you're kind of like the staple family, I think, of like who I think of in Isogenics has got like the whole family that are successful in this business. Like if you guys see the leadership board for Australia, it's like first place, it's either one of you guys, like your mom, I think she was there at one point, and then Rebecca or Amanda, and all three of them are usually right there in the first places in the leadership board or the income for that month, because they're working it as a family. And I just think that that's so incredible. Like what a gift to be able to have your entire family successful and earning a residual income. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, we're very fortunate and never take it for granted, because and it's so neat. Like if we can do this, anyone can do it. Because although I had a little bit of sales experience, I'm a florist. Like I work with my hands. This whole idea of speaking on stage just absolutely freaked me out. Amanda's background is in dairying as well, so we couldn't be like, we're fairly both quite introverted before all of this. Not now, that's all changed, but you become a better person along the way. And just know it's never gonna be for everyone, but the people that are meant to find you, they will. And if you detach from the outcome of wanting to have everyone join you, that just is so much more liberating and freer as a business to get up and do every day. That's a big learning I've had, is that not everyone will join you, but the right people will find you if you just keep showing up.
That's
and
so
it's just fun.
One last question I'm going to ask you guys, and then do you guys have on the team, if you want to unmute yourself or ask a question, just jump on right after this one. But what would you say if you could give us one tip for building our business from either somebody who's not a consultant yet watching this, or somebody that is a manager or a director position? What would you say is like your number one tip? And I'll ask each of you guys the same question of like, what would you suggest if you wanted to give somebody like your best piece of advice?
That's such a good question. It's so hard to pinpoint. But a big one for me, I still say it a lot, and some of my team are like, huh? Like, that's so obvious, but detach from the outcome. Because you'll get so many no's along the way, but if you just don't give no a meaning, that will keep you going. And go out and look for work, because I just wish people knew how slow my build was. My first year or two, I went nowhere fast, but I just looked for work. I made things happen out of nothing. It was like, okay, that person's lost 2 kilos, up went a massive Facebook post celebrating. Like, some people would think that's over the top, like, calm down, it's just like a small transformational result, but just doing that stuff, and it just felt like crickets in the background, but the consistency of just doing that every week. And I often think I've done really nothing special except show up religiously doing probably the same thing. If I were to look back over my social media and events and everything, it would just be that, not a week has gone by that I haven't just shown up in that same way, doing probably the same old things that Amanda and Gabby have done. So it's not like flashy stuff, but it's just really routine and consistent. So I'd just say detach from the outcome. That's two things. And consistency, you hear it so much, and you can be like, we get it, be consistent, but
it's so true. Like, it's totally true. Like, I'm gonna be honest, there's days where I show up and I'm like, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it today. I would rather stay in my onesie and not shower and just not do the world, watch Disney or something today. Like, I have days like that. In fact, I have weeks, I have every single week I have days like that. And that's raw, that's real. But one thing I do on those days is I'll go out and I'll find a great story and I'm like, I love that story. Congratulate that person. Because there's something in that where it's like, even if you don't want to show up, or if you've had a trauma, or if you've had some kind of thing that's come up in your life where you're just like, I just want to check out for a little while. If you literally just go on to our team pages, as you guys know, we've got Health for Life or Wealth for Life, and you can go in there and grab a congratulation post and just literally copy paste that. Don't hit share, but copy paste and put the picture up. That has been one thing that's really helped me get through times where I've just wanted to be like, I'm injured, I'm hurting, or I just don't want to do it. So absolutely, Rebecca, like, that is one of the things that helped me so much, is just to keep going and to show up when you don't feel like it, because it really does pay off.
Definitely. It's very much that. I think anyone that's had any success in anything, you see all these like quotes and, all these pearls of wisdom from big leaders and, Tony Robbins. And it's like, success truly is that it's inconvenient and it's doing what you said you would long after the feeling that you said it in has passed. That's been a huge learning curve, because it's so easy to say, okay, team call, and then it comes around and you're like, oh, I'm kind of tired, so it's just doing the things doing that 1%, and it pays off like wildly. So
good. That's so good. And Amanda, what would you say is your number one, or both things?
I would say it's relevant to what you want from this. That's a huge one. I mean, I coach so many people, and if you just want your products paid for, but you guys on here probably all want the gangster money. I would assume, if you're on this call.
Yeah.
Like, and for that, it's just like visibility, massive. If you're not seen, you're not seen. And sometimes in New Zealand, literally, it could just be 3 people showing up, visible, posting things on your social media. And then you might have the rest of the field just going, it's so lame posting all day on social media. I mean, the difference is, it's like, if you want to grow your business, sometimes you got to do lame things. And that's like, we just don't have any ego or any kind of shame, I guess, anymore around the business. And that's massive, because some people do, and it just stops people. I think the biggest difference for us is we want this so bad, and we want it for so many people, that we show up for other people. Like, we just post, like, because social media, I wouldn't be on it if I wasn't building a business.
Yeah.
And I intend to use every inch of it I can while it's here, because it's free. And it's kind of like, if I wasn't building this business, I wouldn't be on it, because it is kind of like you're wasting so much time on there, not living your life. So use social media as much as you can, post every single day, show up every single day. And if you're more visible, the person with the microphone makes the most money. So if you're the most visible on social media, actually like leading the way, people will just gravitate to you eventually.
That's really good advice. And both of those are like incredible answers. Okay, I'm going to stop asking questions, because I think there might be somebody on the team that wants to ask a question, or anybody want to jump on and ask, unmute yourself, or are you guys going to be shy? Sarah will always go first. Go on, Sarah.
So nice to meet you. I wish I was in your warm weather.
I love your
I literally wear a toque and extra socks and hoodies all day long. So my question for you guys is around time investment. And I think, Rebecca, just because you shared more of your story, I might ask you. In the first year when you said you went nowhere fast, I think is what you said, you weren't building the business very, very quickly. Compared to where you are now, how many, just a rough estimate, how many hours a day were you investing in posting or doing calls? You know, people say they have a power hour that they do. Were you doing 1 hour a day when you were going nowhere, or were you doing scattered amount of hours throughout the week? Compared to now, how many hours a day do you invest in the business?
That's such a good question, and I really have to like think back. But I think throughout that, you know, when I started really building it and really like I remember having to get Facebook. I didn't have it up to that point. I'm like that, truly like the last dinosaur. My whole circle of friends used to give me a lot of grief. So I'm like, God, can't you just get on social media? I'm like, no, like I was that person. I just never ever wanted to be on there. I thought it was kind of silly. And so a lot of time was spent just learning. I remember asking Amanda every day, oh, how do I copy paste? Like I knew nothing. It was probably a real pain for her, and I'm still like that. I'm still learning. But yeah, I guess back then it was still every waking minute I was putting into it. But as I've learned, you know, that you can feel like you're going nowhere fast, and then 3 months later, all of that action suddenly shows up in your bank account, I guess. And so, and that's never changed, because I guess right at the start of my build, I did go back to some part-time jobs. I'd do things like milking cows around our region where we lived, but every other minute of the day was spent building it in some capacity, whether it was attending events. It felt like we were out at events every night, and they would, by the, you know, from go to woe, that would be like 3 hours. Driving there, it takes half an hour to get anywhere in New Zealand. Sometimes we were driving like 6 hours to go to an event, and tons of our team still think that's crazy, but we just knew we had to, you know, show up and stage these events everywhere. So a lot of the hours I put in at the start was just that, just traveling around doing events, you know, trying to create something out of nothing and show up like there was energy. A lot of it we just kind of improvised, but hours wise, like an exact figure, I couldn't really say, but it was just, I remember pockets of time, every spare minute I got. I had one part-time job where it was very much like, you know, messaging under the desk while trying to make bouquets for this flower shop, and them looking like, you know, how you get those angry looks, like get back to work, scooting off to the loo, just trying to send next message out, enroll someone. Yeah, I was so hooked. And even now I spend most of the day working on the business, whether it's having a coffee, catch up, or on Zooms. So yeah, it's hard to give a time figure, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I don't think a time figure is necessary. You painted a really good picture. It's been a little bit elusive to capture what a full-time work is or a part-time work is with Isogenics. And I'm a mom with, you know, 3 kids, and I'm a little bit stubborn with social media. I'm in and then I'm out. And then I'm in and then I'm out.
Nice.
Just based on what I feel like doing. And so it sounds to me like you're saying that you did invest at least part-time hours, no matter what you were doing. You were putting a good chunk of time of investment into it, even in the early years. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And still like falling asleep with the phone. I'd wake up with the phone on my head, like just falling asleep messaging. But I think now I'm far more skilled at intentional work rather than just, sometimes we're busy being busy, thinking we're building, but we're not doing the actual IPA, the income producing activities. But I just really, I love the no stone unturned approach. I'm just always like, where can, you know, I find an opportunity, whether it's just celebrating a team, sending another message out for the day when you just don't feel like it, just always trying to not leave for tomorrow what I can do today. And
Okay.
it's paid off really well, because I just think, like Amanda said, there's not a lot of strong leadership in New Zealand, really. If you take away like Gabrielle and Amanda, there's not a lot of people, but we can count on there's probably less than 10 people really building this
Well, there's
full
only
time.
4 executives.
Yeah, there's 4 paid as executives in New
At the
Zealand.
moment.
Wow.
And so I guess, it's up to us. We're just like, we have to show up. Like, we've got to set the bar, and we've got strong work ethic, but we because we know what's possible with the opportunity, we're all in, and
And if you've got 3 children, this business is easy compared to that.
Woo!
It honestly is. Like, it's freaking, I've got 2 kids, and the business is easy compared to having kids.
Awesome.
Look forward to, yay.
As
you guys having your babies and growing families and stuff. And I'm
like Sarah, you've probably done, so much to have those 3 children, and you will be doing stuff every day that deserves a medal. And if you just apply that to your ice students business in the pockets of your time, you'll kill it.
Okay.
It's just like transferring your energy that you already give in your everyday either job or like motherhood or whatever into the business. It's just that relentless, and sort of like every day you have to do it. You don't have a choice.
That's great. That's great advice. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Is there anyone else that wants to ask any more questions, or Danielle or Sadie? Don't be shy. You don't have to if you don't have a question, but if you want to, you can. Okay. Oh, there she goes. Okay, go for it.
I'm not shy. I just don't have a question. Can't think of anything. Sorry. But I really appreciate all this advice. It's been really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, it's such an honor to talk to you girls. Like, we're family, and it's so neat that we're here in New Zealand, you're in Canada, and you can, like, we're still on the journey. We haven't arrived. We're still learning, but it's such an awesome journey of self-development. I think we've learned so much. We're just not the 2 people that walked into this, and boy, I'm so grateful for that, because I, just everything that I've learned inside of Isogenics it's priceless. I'm a changed person because of it, and I'm not sure where each of you girls are at in your business, but just never quit, because it's like such a heartfelt business, and the world needs that more now than ever. So
and if you could send us some tri-release protein, that would be awesome.
oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They just launched launched creme brulee flavor in Canada for our isoline shakes, but we've been like begging for the collagen shots. So I was like, let's do a trade. Just kidding. If you guys need anything, or you want me to post you anything, just private message me and I'll be happy to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll just roll it over to you guys, because I need to come see Keanu, and I need to I need to get back into the surfboard, so I'll just row it over, and I'll use it as my raft, just a bunch of like tubs of tri-release. So,
and that's the beauty of having. Do you guys all have the international sponsorship, so you can like do orders from other countries?
I think Danielle does, because she's on our New Zealand Australia team, so she can get the BV for that. Anybody that's on my left leg on that team, I always can try to get them to get the international sponsorship, so they get that BV that comes up. So
definitely, because it's cool having that, because then you can just do orders from other countries and get it sent to someone that lives there.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can totally do that for you guys. Duh, I didn't even think that. I don't have to post it to you.
Do it for our own account, and you just get it sent to the person that lives there. Like, I've done it in the States before, and then you're just like, I'll hook you up cash and send it over, and you're like, please let it come through customs.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I can help you guys out if you ever need anything. Just let me know. I'll be happy to shoot you a package from my account. So that'll work great. And the BV will just come up to you guys anyway, so it works out great. Yeah, well, thank you so much for jumping on tonight's call. Rebecca, like, your story is incredible. I didn't even know Amanda was going to be there. Otherwise, I would have got you guys to both share, but we'll have to get you on like next week or something, Amanda, and hear your story for the team, because both of your stories are so powerful, and you know, the community that you guys have been able to create and what you've done for your family is just so amazing. And you guys, I'm watching everything that you do. This is another tip for you guys that are new, or are just, you know, wanting to build your business, is find Amanda and Rebecca on social media and follow their accounts, follow their stories, follow what they post, because what happens is that, you know, if you're learning and you're, you know, for me, I've only been 2 years in the business, but the one thing that's definitely helped me is had a leader sit down and said, okay, who do you need to associate with, and find people, you know, that you really connect with, that you feel like you vibe with. Like, I'm always like, I feel like Rebecca and I would be bestest of friends in New Zealand, because every food thing that she posts on her story, I'm like, oh yeah, and I wanted to be a florist, and I'm a farm girl, and like all these things, and I'm like, I love fishing, and I'm from the coast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you'd be the bestest of friends. So I find these people that I really resonate really well with, and then I watch their stories and I go, wow, look at what they've done. They've been in the business 7 years. This is the success that they're having. This is how they show up. This is how they post. And that really gives you kind of like, it really gave me a foundation for how do I show up. Because when you're getting started, sometimes you're like, what do I do? You know, you don't want to bug your mentor every 5 seconds. So, okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? Not that that's bad. You guys can totally do that with me, and I'd be over the moon about it. But if you're wanting to do like self-motivating things, just follow other leaders, and they're two like incredible leaders to follow. So Rebecca Fraser-Jones and Amanda Fraser-Jones. Do you guys have Insta handles like that are just your names?
Yeah, just the names.
Yeah. Okay,
we're very creative.
Yeah, no, me neither. I'm like, I don't know my name. You know what? I can totally relate to, because with Instagram, I didn't even have an Instagram account when I started Isogenics. I had no clue how to do it. I had no clue what to post. And if you actually go back to the beginning of my Instagram stories, it's like a shake because that's like when I first got started. I had no clue how to use it. And, you know, I didn't even know how to make a story on Facebook. Like, I was that green too. Like, I had no clue. But, you know, you learn along the way, and you make mistakes sometimes, and who cares? You learn, and you get better every day. And you know, I just think it's so much fun, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, I can do that. Like, if I started with nothing and you're at where you're at now, I mean, that's just amazing, because you've invested in learning, and you've been open, and you've watched the leaders, and it's incredible. It sure pays off. So thank you guys so much for your time. I know you're hustling on another 11-day reset, and I think that's so exciting, and I'd love to bring you guys back on another team call and get more wisdom from you to share with the team. So yeah.
Anytime. It's been a pleasure. It's so cool to sit down with you guys and yeah, bring the 2020 home strong.
Absolutely. All right. Well, bless you guys, and thanks again for all your pearls of wisdom and your story and your energy and your time tonight. And we will be back here next week, same time, you guys. So thanks for showing up for the call, and anybody watching this recording, if you have any questions, you know, you can always reach out. So bless you guys, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.